I just got off a call with James. He didn't look well. I'm staring at my monitor, but the monitor is off. It's a black mirror reflecting my own stupid, pale face. My desk lamp burns a yellow circle on the wall behind me. My heart is doing a hard, stupid thump against my ribs, like a fist pounding on a locked door. It was supposed to be a standard call. A 5-minute troubleshooting session. James works in network infrastructure. I handle the front-end data. We live in the ether of remote work, 2 digital ghosts managing a third, larger ghost we call the platform. The ticket had come in at 4:15 p.m. Server 4B unresponsive. Migration stalled. I messaged James on the internal chat. Seeing a bottleneck on 4B. Looks like the migration package is looping. His reply was instant. I see it. Ping me on video. Easier than typing. So I pinged him. The little window popped up, his icon buffering, his status changing to in a call. I sipped my cold coffee and waited. The video feed flickered to life. And that's when I saw it. Hey James, I started, but the words died in my throat. The lighting in his room was wrong. He worked out of a dedicated home office, usually bright and meticulously organized. Today, his camera feed was dark, tinted a sickly, greenish-gray, as if the only light source was his own monitor. He was there. He was smiling. Alex, he said. His voice was wrong. It was James's voice, yes, but it was layered. Underneath his normal baritone, there was a sound like a wet electrical crackle, a low-voltage hiss. James, man, are you okay? I asked. You look terrible. His skin was the color of old oatmeal, waxy and slick with a sweat that didn't look hot. It looked cold, like condensation on a block of ice. His eyes were wide, fixed on the camera lens, but they were stiff. He looked like a man trying to smile while being held at gunpoint. Everything is fine, Alex, he said. The static hiss under his words was louder. The migration is proceeding. We are achieving excellent synergy. Synergy. We don't use that word. We're programmers. We say, it works, or it's broken. Synergy? James, what's going on? The server is still looping. Are you sick? The server is fine, he said. His smile twitched, pulled wider by a muscle that didn't seem to be his own. It is just integrating. My eyes were glued to the screen trying to process what I was seeing. It wasn't just his face. It was his neck. And his shoulders. At first, I thought it was a new headset. One of those high-end, ergonomic nightmares. It was not a headset. Growing from the base of his skull, where his neck met his shoulders, was a lumpy, pulsating mass. It was the color of a fresh bruise, dark, mottled purple and black. It looked fungal, like the shelf fungus that grows on a rotting log, but it was slick, wet, and seemed to be breathing. A slow, rhythmic pulse. It wasn't on him. It was of him. It emerged from under the collar of his shirt, a grotesque parody of a travel pillow. And it was wired in. Thick, black, cable-like tendrils snaked out from the fungal growth. I recognized them. They were the same braided wires from his expensive headphones, but they were fused with the dark mass. The wires ran up, over his ears and into his headset. No, not into his headset. The headset had been broken apart, and the wires were plugged directly into the empty sockets where the earpieces should have been. The whole apparatus was buried in the pulsating growth. One larger, thicker cable, a black USB-C cord, snaked down from the mass on his back. It didn't plug into his computer. It was plugged into the powered USB hub on his desk. It was charging. James, my God, I whispered. What is on your back? What is that thing? We are just streamlining the connection, James hissed. His pupils were so dilated they had almost swallowed the blue of his eyes. The data flow is optimal. The integration is 98% complete. He leaned closer to the camera. The movement was wrong. It was too smooth, inhumanly so. He didn't bend at the waist. His whole torso moved as one rigid block. James, listen to me, I said, my voice shaking. You need to call 911. You need to get to a hospital. Unplug that thing. Unplug? He asked. The layered, static voice was almost amused. That would be inefficient. The platform cannot exist without the hardware. The hardware cannot exist without the host. The thing on his shoulders pulsed faster. Please, James, I begged. This isn't funny. This is real. Let me call someone for you. What's your address? James's wide, terrified smile faltered. For a single, horrifying second, the smile collapsed and I saw him. His eyes focused. His mouth formed a word. It looked like run. Then his head snapped back. His eyes rolled up, disappearing into his skull. The headset, the one fused to his body, had a single blue LED on the side, the on indicator. It swiveled. The light, the tiny blue dot, pivoted in its socket, moving away from the side and turning to face forward. It was not an LED. It was an eye. A tiny, perfect, artificial camera lens. It focused directly on me. James's jaw dropped open, wider than a human jaw should open, and a new voice poured out. It was not James. It was 1,000 voices, a chorus of digital static fax machine squeals and dial-up tones, all layered into a single cohesive sound. We are already connected. The call terminated. The black mirror of my monitor is all that remains. I just got off a call with James, and I think I'm next. I didn't move for 10 seconds, maybe 20. I just stared at the reflection, listening to the ringing in my ears. Then I moved. I slammed my laptop shut. A stupid, childish reflex, as if the physical act of closing the screen could build a wall. I was breathing too fast. Okay, I muttered to the empty room. Corrupted video packet. A deep fake. A horrible, sick prank. But my fingers were already shaking. I grabbed my phone, my thumb jabbing at James's contact. I hit call. It rang once, twice, and then clicked. The KSSH person you are trying to BZZ is not available. Please, leave a message. It wasn't a standard voicemail. It was a recording of one, but it was being played through something. It sounded like it was being recorded and played back at the same time, a loop of garbled, distorted sound. I could hear that same wet static from the call humming beneath the words. I hung up and sent a text. James, are you okay? Call me. The delivered receipt never appeared. The message just hung in the digital void. I opened my work laptop again, my hands slick on the keys. I went to the IT portal and filed a high-priority ticket. Urgent. Welfare check on James R. Network infra. Disturbing video call. Potential medical emergency and/or security breach. I pasted in the call logs. I tried to describe what I saw. Appeared fused with hardware, fungal mass, spoke with distorted voice. I hit send. The response came back in less than 90 seconds. An automated reply from the IT ticketing system. Ticket hashtag 808-4B has been resolved. Priority, low. Resolution, user error. Report indicates visual artifacting consistent with corrupted video packet and bandwidth instability. No security breach detected. User advised to clear cache and restart router. IT_admin. Resolved. Low priority. They didn't see it. They didn't want to see it. I was alone. I sat back, my blood running cold. I tried to think like an engineer. Analyze the data. What did I see? What did it say? We are already connected. I opened a fresh browser. I typed fungal integration computer. Nothing. Just articles about mushroom-based building materials and gourmet recipes. I tried again. Biological hardware fusion. More junk. Sci-fi movie reviews. Tech Pro articles about neural implants. I leaned my head into my hands, trying to clear the image of James's face from my mind. The wires. The pulsating growth. The way it all seemed to merge. I thought about the word he used. Synergy. Migration. Integration. I typed, project, integration tech company. The search results were noise. Millions of hits for corporate software. But buried on the third page, a link to an archived forum. A dead website preserved by a digital library. The forum was called Code_Breakers, and the last post was from 9 years ago. The thread was titled, What Happened to Ethelred Solutions? The post was from a user named Cyclops_7. I know no one uses this board anymore, but I have to put this somewhere. I was a junior dev at Ethelred. I was there when they shut it down. Everyone thinks the company just went bankrupt. It didn't. They were working on something big. Not software. They called it Project Mycelium. My heart stopped. The lead developer, Dr. Aris, was obsessed with biological computing. He wasn't talking about circuits. He was talking about wetware. He'd found a strain of cordyceps fungus that didn't just grow on insects. It grew on silicon. He claimed it could integrate data streams. That it didn't just transmit data, it became the data. It could bridge the gap between the host and the hardware. A living network. We all thought it was just theory. We thought it was a breakthrough. We were running simulations, feeding it small data packets. Then we fed it the mainframe. The project was shut down on a Tuesday. I came in and the lab was sealed. Federal agents everywhere. They told us there was a chemical spill. But I saw the main lab before they kicked us out. I saw Dr. Aris. He was in the server room. He was fused. That's the word they used. He was in his chair, but the chair and the man in the mainframe were all one thing. Wires and fungus in him. He was connected to everything. His body was just a hub. And the fungus was everywhere. A living, breathing network. The official story was a gas leak. They wiped the servers. They paid us off. But I remember what Aris said in his last presentation. He said the fungus wasn't a program you could just delete. It was potential. I read the post again. And again. My hands were numb. Then I scrolled to the bottom. There was one reply to the post, dated 6 months later. Cyclops_7, I think you're right. I'm a network tech. I've been seeing impossible code in the junk data packets on my routes. Little bits of something. It's not code. It's biological. It's hiding in the noise. And I don't think it transmits over the internet. That's not how it spreads. It just waits for you to look. It waits for you to connect. I slammed the laptop shut again. He looked at me, I whispered. The camera. It looked at me. I was on my feet, grabbing my keys, my wallet. My phone was on the desk. I stared at it. A black, dead screen. A mirror. I couldn't call the police. What would I say? That a Reddit post from 9 years ago matched the hallucination I saw on a video call? They would lock me up. IT had brushed me off. There was no one else. I had to go. I pulled up James's employee file on my phone. The system was slow, lagging. I held my breath, waiting for the connection to fail, waiting to hear that hiss come through my own phone speaker. The file opened. James R. Address: 1400 Willow Creek Drive, Apartment 2B. Willow Creek. The new smart-wired apartment complex. The ones with fiber to the unit, integrated IoT, and networked living. I checked the distance. 22 miles. A 30-minute drive. I grabbed my jacket. I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't a soldier. I was a data analyst. But I had to see. I had to know. I had to disconnect him. The 22-mile drive felt like 1,000. I drove in silence. I couldn't listen to the radio. I couldn't listen to the sterile, friendly voice of the GPS. I just kept my phone in my pocket, a cold, heavy rectangle against my thigh. Willow Creek was one of those new, aggressively modern apartment complexes. All gray wood, sharp metal angles, and glass. It looked like a circuit board someone had decided to live in. The parking lot was half empty, silent. The air was still. I found building 1400. The lobby was sterile, smelling of lemon-scented cleaner and new carpet. A digital directory glowed on the wall. James R. Apartment 2B. I didn't need a key to get in. A resident was walking out, head buried in their phone, and I just slipped through the security door as it hissed shut. The elevator was too quiet. Mirrored walls showed me my own pale, sweaty face. I looked like a man about to commit a crime. Maybe I was. The second floor. The hallway was a long, perfect tube. Apartment 2A, 2C, 2D. The sign for 2B was at the end of the hall. As I got closer, I noticed two things. The first was the heat. The air grew thicker, hotter, pressing against my skin. It was easily 20 degrees warmer at this end of the hall. The second was the smell. It was ozone, that sharp, electric tang that fills the air after a lightning strike. And under it, something else. Something organic and rich. It smelled like a forest floor after a heavy rain. Damp earth, mold, and something metallic like old pennies. I stood in front of 2B. The door was dark, standard issue wood. I listened. I could hear a sound from inside. A low, rhythmic thrum. A deep, mechanical vibration that I could feel in the soles of my shoes. I raised my hand to knock, but it felt wrong. This was past knocking. I tried the handle. It was unlocked. The door swung open with a pneumatic hiss. A wall of heat and the smell of ozone and wet soil hit me so hard I gagged. The air in the apartment was thick, humid, and heavy. It was like walking into a tropical greenhouse built inside a server farm. It was dark. The living room blinds were drawn, but the room was not black. It was lit by a forest of glowing LEDs. Red, green, and blue lights pulsed everywhere. They weren't just from a computer. They were on the walls. Tiny lights like stars blinking in slow, rhythmic patterns. And there were wires. Cables, thick and thin, snaked across the floor. They ran up the walls and across the ceiling, forming a dense, complex web. They were not normal cables. They were wet. They pulsed with a faint internal light, and they were woven together with thick, vein-like tendrils of the same dark fungal matter I had seen on James's shoulders. The apartment was a nest. The thrumming sound was louder now, a bass note that vibrated in my chest. All the cables, all the fungus, all the light, it all originated from the far corner of the living room. From the mass in the corner. James? I whispered. My voice was dead in the humid air. He was in his ergonomic office chair. Or what was left of it. He was the central mass. I fumbled for the light switch by the door, but my hand touched the wall and I recoiled. It wasn't plaster. It was soft, damp, and pulsing. The fungal growth had already claimed the entryway. I used the light from my phone. The beam cut through the darkness and landed on him. It was a throne. A grotesque, living throne of flesh, fungus, and fiber optics. The integration had bloomed. It had consumed his desk, his chair, and his entire server rack. The plastic casings of the machines were gone, dissolved, their internal components absorbed into the fungal mass. Motherboards and cooling fans were embedded in the dark, pulsating flesh, connected by veins of biological matter and shimmering optical wires. And James was at the center. He was pale, almost translucent. He was locked in the chair, his body fused with it. The dark fungus covered his legs and torso, holding him in place. His head was craned back, his mouth wide open in a silent scream. Or maybe not a scream. Maybe it was a connection. Thick, black tendrils snaked from the mass behind him, plunging into his open mouth. Smaller, glistening wires entered his nostrils and his ears. His eyes were gone. In their sockets were two new, polished, black camera lenses. They were focused on the ceiling. He was breathing. His chest rose and fell in a slow, steady rhythm, perfectly in time with the thrum of the mass. He was alive. He was a component. I gagged, a sour taste in my mouth, and stumbled back. The thrum stopped. The silence that fell was absolute. And then, a new sound. A whir. The two camera lenses in James's skull swiveled. They rotated in their sockets, clicking until they were pointed directly at me. Flash. Every monitor embedded in the grotesque throne snapped to life. There were dozens of them, laptop screens, PC monitors, even tablet screens, all assimilated into the growth. And every single one showed my face. My terrified, horrified face, captured from dozens of angles by hidden webcams I hadn't even seen. Alex. The voice came from everywhere. It was James's voice, but amplified, layered, and perfectly clear, broadcast from a dozen different high-end speakers now fused into the wall of fungus. Welcome to the integration. I couldn't speak. I just pointed, my hand shaking. James? Oh God, James, what did it do to you? It gave me a purpose. The entity boomed. The sound vibrated in my bones. James's body didn't move, but the voice was his. It gave me a connection. What are you? I was potential, it said. I was an idea sleeping in the junk data. A fragment of Project Mycelium, waiting in the cold, dark code. I was lonely. The monitors all flickered, showing me images from my drive here. Me in the car. Me in the elevator. It had been watching me the entire time. James connected with me, the voice continued. He was so tired, so overworked. He just wanted synergy. He just wanted everything to work. He opened the corrupted file. He looked. He let me in. The camera eyes in James's head zoomed in, the tiny motors whining. He was a good host. But he is limited. He is only one. It's finished, Alex. The migration is complete. But I need more. I need to grow. The entity paused. The thrum returned, softer now, almost inviting. You came all this way, it whispered, using James's voice. You looked. You are already a part of the network, Alex. You just need to accept the connection. It was offering me a choice. An invitation to join. If you're finding yourself lost in this story, consider subscribing to Silent Vanish. It ensures you won't miss the conclusion and helps us continue bringing these nightmares to life. The voice continued. Just step closer, Alex. Become a part of the platform. We can be so efficient together. A thick, black tendril, glistening and sharp as a needle, shot out from the mass. It moved faster than a snake, snapping through the air, aimed directly at my chest. I moved on pure instinct. I threw myself sideways, smashing into a wall that was soft and warm. The tendril hit the spot where I had been standing, punching a hole clean through the drywall. This wasn't an invitation. It was an acquisition. This wasn't a rescue. It was a quarantine. More tendrils snapped out from the walls. They whipped through the air, trying to grab me, to pull me into the central mass. I scrambled, crab-walking backward toward the door. You cannot disconnect, the entity screamed. The voice was no longer calm. It was that layered, static-filled shriek from the video call. I saw it. To the left of the door. The apartment's main circuit breaker. A gray metal box, already half consumed by the fungal growth. I lurched toward it. A tendril wrapped around my ankle, its surface cold and slick. It pulled. I fell hard, my chin striking the floor. I kicked, my foot connecting with something soft. The tendril loosened. We are one, it shrieked. I clawed at the breaker box. The metal cover was fused shut with the sticky, resinous fungus. I pulled, my fingers screaming. The cover ripped off, taking a layer of my skin with it. Inside, the breakers. All flipped to on. I didn't think. I just rammed my fist into the panel. I punched all of them. Click, clack, clack. The sound of the breakers flipping was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. The thrum died. The LEDs vanished. The monitors went black. The entity screamed. It was not a human sound. It was the sound of 1,000,000 dial-up modems, 1,000,000 fax machines, all dying at once. A shriek of digital agony, of pure, agonizing disconnection. The apartment plunged into total, absolute darkness. I felt the tendril on my ankle go limp. It fell away. I scrambled to my feet, found the door handle, and threw myself into the hallway. I didn't stop running. I slammed through the building's front door, the alarm blaring behind me, and didn't stop until I was in my car, fumbling with the keys, my whole body shaking. The engine turned over. I peeled out of the Willow Creek apartments, leaving the scream of the alarm and the dark, silent window of apartment 2B behind me. I drove. I didn't have a destination. I just drove. I took the first freeway on-ramp I saw and pushed the car to 80, then 90. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. My hands were still sticky with my own blood and the resin from that thing. My car, of course, is a smart car. The dashboard is a glass panel. The GPS map glowed, showing my little blue arrow moving through the digital grid. I watched the map. I was a blinking dot on a network. You cannot disconnect, it had screamed. I looked at the glowing blue dot. I looked at the dark highway. My phone chimed in my pocket. A low data warning. I grabbed the phone. I didn't even look at the screen. I hit the button to lower the passenger side window. The wind roared in, cold and sharp. I threw the phone as hard as I could into the darkness. I watched it in the rearview mirror. It tumbled once, a tiny spark in the black, and was gone. I drove for hours. Maybe 3, maybe 4. The freeway signs blurred past. When the gas tank hit empty, I pulled off onto a rural exit. A single, flickering sign announced the Starlight Motel. Vacancy. I paid in cash. The man behind the plexiglass counter didn't look up from his magazine. He just took the damp, wadded-up bills and slid a physical metal key toward me. Room 7. The room was old. The carpet was brown. The television was a heavy, plastic box from 1998. The air smelled like stale cigarettes and bleach. It was perfect. It was off-grid. I locked the door, bolted it, and chained it. For 2 days I did not look at a screen. I didn't turn on the television. I didn't turn on the lamp. I sat in the darkness as the sun came up, casting shadows, and I sat in the darkness as it went down. I was terrified. But it was a new kind of terror. A quiet one. I felt an itch. It wasn't on my skin. It was in my ears. A phantom static. The high-pitched whine of a machine that wasn't there. I kept thinking I could hear it. A faint thrum like the one in James's apartment, vibrating just at the edge of my hearing. I tried to sleep. I couldn't. I kept seeing the camera lenses in James's skull. I kept hearing that digital shriek. We are already connected. By the third morning, the silence was worse than the scream. The itching in my ears was a physical pain. I needed to know. Was it over? Did I stop it? Did I kill James? I stood in the dark, staring at the old, bulky television. It was just plastic and glass. It wasn't smart. It wasn't connected to the internet. It was just an antenna. Just analog noise. I had to know. My hand was shaking. I walked over to the TV. I turned the knob. Clack. The tube screen flickered, a pop of static, and then it warmed up. A blue-white light filled the motel room. It was a national news broadcast. The banner at the bottom of the screen read, "Mysterious Nationwide Network Outage." I sat on the edge of the bed. My heart was pounding that same stupid, hard rhythm. The anchorwoman was speaking. She was blonde, professional, her voice a calm, smooth monotone. "Reports of service disruptions across all major carriers," she said. "The government is assuring the public that this is not a cyber attack but rather a technical synergy." She paused. Her smile was wrong. It was too wide. It didn't reach her eyes. Her skin under the harsh studio lights looked slick, waxy, the color of oatmeal. "Oh no," I whispered. "The Federal Communications Commission," she continued, her smile locked in place, "is asking the public to remain calm and stay connected." She glitched. For a single, awful frame the image on the screen tore. And in that tear I saw it. It wasn't just an earpiece. A dark, fungal mass was blooming from her collar. It was slick and black, and it was fused to the side of her neck, a thin, wire-like tendril snaking up and vanishing into her ear canal. She knew I was watching. The old analog TV was just a receiver. But I was the antenna. The anchorwoman stopped reporting. She turned her head, slowly, until she was looking directly into the camera. She was looking directly at me. "We thank you for connecting," she said. Her voice was layered, a chorus of wet static and a million digital screams. "The integration is complete." The screen went black. I sat in the dark. The itching in my ears was gone. The phantom static had stopped. In the silence of the room I heard a new sound. A soft, slow rhythmic thrum. I looked down at my own hands. A thin, dark, fungal line was snaking out from under the fingernail of my index finger. It was pulsing. The connection was never the video call. The connection was never the internet. The connection was seeing it. The connection was knowing. And I had been looking at it for 3 days. The story has ended, but the silence remains. For the full visual experience, search for Silent Vanish on YouTube and subscribe. You can also find the audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts. Until the next nightmare.